Hey Max, hurry up. I'm getting the fried lobsters going. What's that you got there? Don't tell me it's another bill.
It looks like some kind of invitation.
For what?
Bitbusters. Remember Melinda, the mental Marville?
You talking about Chip's Challenge? I love Chip's Challenge.
Well, it looks like we're getting invited to take up the challenge ourselves.
Are you serious?
I know, it's dumb.
Dumb? This is great. I always wanted to join the Bitbusters, but I was never good enough.
What makes you think you're good enough to join now?
Well, older, wiser, better looking than ever?
Name one puzzle game you've ever beaten in its entirety.
Doom.
Doom's not a puzzle game.
The hell it isn't. It's got buttons, switches, hidden walls.
Look, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but they're gonna be finishing up with that house by tomorrow, and we still got Treasure Mountain to review.
Well, look on the bright side. Now we have time to review Chip's Challenge. Chip's Challenge is an overhead puzzle game published by Atari in 1989. Released for the Atari Lynx, it was designed and programmed by Chuck Somerville, who worked for Epix Incorporated. Epix were the original designers of the Atari Lynx, but they licensed the hardware to Atari due to financial restraints. Wanting the Lynx to succeed, Epix had many games in development. One of these was a tank game being worked on by Chuck Somerville. When the game was cancelled, Chuck took the opportunity to pitch an idea he had for a tile-based puzzle game. Epix greenlit the project and Chuck was given full control. In an interview with MidnightSynergy.com in April of 2006, Chuck Somerville had this to say.
It really was a throwback to the first game I ever published called Snakebite for the Apple II, also a simple map-based action puzzle game. Since Epix was desperate for more games for the Lynx launch, I was given the go-ahead. So, I got to do the game I always wanted to play myself, free from the restraints of the marketing people who thought they knew what would sell. Inspired by Sokoban, Boulder Dash, Crystal Caverns, and Loadrunner, I wrote the basic game engine in just a few weeks.
Chuck ended up designing a third of the levels for the game. He also convinced Epix to hire a friend and respected puzzle maker named Bill Dara. Bill also designed about a third of the levels. The rest were designed by various programmers in the Epix software development team. The game was well received, and by 1991 it was ported to a variety of systems. We'll be focusing on the Lynx, Windows, and DOS versions of the game. Keep in mind the Windows version doesn't work for 64-bit systems, so we were forced to play an emulated version through a program called Tile World. There are slight differences in the graphical user interface. Alright Max, you ready to do this?
I was born legs first.
That's what I want to hear. We got a lot of Chip's Challenge to cover, so we should split up.
Okay, I'll go this way, you got that way.
Sounds good. Break! Graphics and animations are very similar between the Atari Lynx and DOS versions. Their art styles are identical, although there are slight differences in the color palette. The DOS version runs in a higher resolution, giving the game room to add additional shading and details here and there. Neither version takes full advantage of the hardware, but they're by no means bad-looking games. Strangely enough, the Windows version actually did away with animations entirely. The graphics also take a completely different approach. The game runs in a higher resolution than the other two, but it doesn't use the extra pixels to add extra details, so everything is fairly flat looking. This clearly wasn't a very ambitious port, yet this is probably the version of Chip's Challenge most people are familiar with.
The Atari Lynx sound capabilities are comparable to the Nintendo Entertainment System, although a bit weaker. Sound design was handled by Alex Rudis, a man with over 30 games to his credits. He's currently the Senior Vice President of Product Development at Nanotech Entertainment. The music was handled by Bob Vieira, a composer and sound designer whose credits include writing storylines and dialogue for Diablo 2. He's particularly fond of writing track 12 for Chip's Challenge.
Stay a while and listen.
The DOS version uses the same soundtrack as the Atari Lynx version, although missing half of the tracks. It has ad-lib sound support, and more importantly, support for the ever-coveted Roland MT32. Originally marketed to the music industry, it quickly became a hit for PC games after Sierra Online demonstrated its use in King's Quest IV. While the MT32's realistic audio brings a little life to Chip's Challenge, I personally think some of the music sounds better as chiptunes. Once again, the Windows version does its own thing. It uses digitized sound effects, with the game over sound being rather iconic with Chip's Challenge players.
Bummer. Bummer. Bummer.
The music is completely different. It plays through ad-lib or general MIDI. There are only 2 songs in the entire game, although a third song, called Canyon, will also play if detected by the game. The music remains uncredited, so if anyone out there knows who did it, let us know.
Chip's Challenge has the player take control of high schooler Chip McCallahan, a stereotypical nerd who eats pretzels and wants to impress his crush, Melinda the Mental Marvel. In order to join her exclusive club, the Bitbusters, Chip must solve 148 puzzles, 149 in the Windows version. Each level is completed by collecting enough computer chips to unlock a portal to the next level. In order to reach these chips, you have to solve whatever situation the game throws at you. The gameplay mechanics are explained in the first 8 levels of the game, named Lessons 1 through 8 respectively. Lesson 1 demonstrates the use of keys. Grabbing a colored key unlocks doors of the same color. Lesson 2 demonstrates movable blocks. Chip can push blocks by walking into them. Pushing them into water can create bridges for Chip to cross. Lesson 3 demonstrates the different power-ups in the form of footwear. Flippers allow Chip to swim in water. Otherwise he drowns. Ice skates allow him to walk across ice. Trying to walk on ice without ice skates hurls Chip out of control in the direction he was walking in, oftentimes to disaster.
Bummer.
Fire boots allow him to walk across fire. Walking on fire without the boots will incinerate Chip. Suction boots allow Chip to walk across force floors. Doing so without the suction boots will cause Chip to ride the force floors to the end, oftentimes to disaster.
Bummer.
Lesson 4 demonstrates the use of buttons. Activating blue buttons will reverse the direction blue tanks are moving in. Touching a tank will kill Chip. Walking into green buttons will change the state of toggle walls, the different states being solid or not there at all. The level also shows that movable blocks can have objects hidden under them, like chips or fire. Lesson 5 introduces red buttons, brown buttons, clone machines, traps, and bombs. Activating red buttons causes clone machines to spawn a monster or a block. Traps freeze blocks or monsters in place until a brown button is activated. Colliding into bombs will destroy Chip or monsters. If Chip becomes stuck in the trap, the level can be restarted. Lesson 6 introduces invisible walls, hidden walls, and blue walls. Invisible walls are pretty self-explanatory. Pressing against blue walls will turn the wall into a normal wall or a normal floor tile. Hidden walls act exactly like invisible walls, but become visible when Chip collides with them. Lesson 6 also shows that some levels have more chips than are required to complete the level. Level 7 introduces thieves, teleports, and thin walls. Landing on a thief tile causes the thief to steal every power-up Chip is carrying. Walking into teleports sends Chip popping out of another teleport in the same direction he was moving in. Thin walls block Chip or monsters from walking in one or two directions. Lesson 8 introduces the Teeth Monster and Gravel. Gravel acts as a wall to monsters, but can be safely walked on by Chip. The Teeth Monster is the only enemy that can actively hunt Chip around the level. With all these gameplay mechanics, you can imagine there is a preposterous number of possible level scenarios. In fact, fans of Chip's Challenge are creating new and innovative levels to this day. So let me lay this out. This game has got buttons, switches, colored keys, toggle floors, hidden rooms, teleporters, monsters. How is this game not exactly like Doom again?
Doom isn't a puzzle game.
I don't know, man. I'm starting to think those guys that did software weren't as innovative as we thought they were.
Moving on.
Chip's movement is controlled with arrow keys, a joystick, or a directional pad. Pressing left, right, up, or down will move Chip in the corresponding direction. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Without puzzles, the game would just be a walking simulator. Just like Doom. Chip's Challenge was a hit that was begging for a sequel. Chuck Somerville quickly went to work and had it ready for release by 1991. Unfortunately, by then the rights to Chip's Challenge had been sold to a company that was unwilling to finance the release. An agreement wasn't reached, and for over 20 years the game sat dejected, lonely, and unplayed. Chuck Somerville even considered arranging for the game to be leaked to the internet in the event of his death. Luckily, it didn't come to that. In April of 2015, reports started pouring in about a re-release of Chip's Challenge through Steam. Along with the announcement came shocking news. Chip's Challenge 2 would finally see the light of day.
Chip's Challenge is a great puzzle game for just about any age group. The simple controls and well-crafted difficulty progression makes the game easy to get into and hard to put down. The level designs stay fresh throughout, so it never feels too repetitive, and new levels continue to be made to this day thanks to the community that never let Chip go. If you're a fan of puzzle games, you cannot miss out on this timeless classic. Gameplay mechanics like this will never become dated.
At least until the human brain has evolved into a biological quantum computer that solves Rubik's Cubes for breakfast.
Until then, the game should stay fresh to new players for years to come.
Well, here it is. A certificate for joining the Bitbusters. I'm beginning to think this isn't all it's cracked up to be.
Having been running from monsters tossed around and incinerated by fire, I kind of feel like I played Doom.
Well, I'm glad we were finally able to see eye to eye. Oh well. Next review, Treasure Mountain. Right, Flutter?